Good afternoon, everyone. This is Robert Jamieson. Welcome to our online chess lesson for Thursday, the 19th of February. Today I thought we'd start off with a little puzzle, a checkmate in 3 moves, and one of you has already solved it, so well done to Niam. I'm not so much interested, though, in finding the solution as the process of finding the solution, because if we can find a system that will help us solve problems in our own chess games, we can apply that system in real life tournament games. So let's have a talk to Niam. Can you hear me, Niam?
Yes.
Okay, so well done. You're the only one to get the answer so far. That was good. Did it take you very long?
Only it took me quite a while.
Okay. Now, what I'm interested in is what was your thought process to get the answer? What sort of things did you think about to give you the idea for the 3-move checkmate? Can you remember what the first thing you thought about was?
To block the line of the rook so I can put my knight on the square I wanted to put it on.
Okay, but looking at the original position, it's not clear that your knight wants to go to e2. Isn't there a sort of preliminary move or preliminary idea you have to have before that? Like you're thinking of moving your bishop, I'm guessing.
Yes.
Okay, so what gave you the idea of thinking of moving the bishop?
Because if you move the bishop, the queen can go to the square the bishop is on and checkmate.
Okay, all right, very good. So then the next question is, what square do we move the bishop to? So he's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different squares. So did you try one, say like bishop h1, but then you looked at white's defense, queen f1, and it's not a checkmate?
Yes, we did try bishop h1 first.
All right. So did you try them by a process of elimination, or you had an extra idea to solve the problem?
Well, firstly I thought the h1 move was the right move first, but then I had a closer look at it, and then I realized it wasn't.
Yep, it looks like a tricky sort of puzzle move, doesn't it? Bishop h1. All right, so what did you think about moving the bishop somewhere else then? Did you try every square, or did you have an idea to help you?
Well, after that I tried bishop e4.
Okay, so you tried bishop e4, and white plays the obvious defense queen f1. So did you think, I'm in trouble now, I'm not going to get a checkmate, or you saw a good move straight away?
Well, I thought for a while, and then I saw that there was a checkmate in 2.
Yes, so you have the knight decoy, knight e2 check, forces the queen away, and then you get your checkmate. Excellent. So that's our solution to the mate in 3. Let's just go back to the start. So I think the way to solve this puzzle is like a system you can use in endgames as well, of asking yourself different questions. So if it were me, the first question I'd say to myself is, okay, what piece am I going to checkmate with? So what do you think the answer to that would be?
Queen.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious that the queen's the most powerful piece, and if we are going to get a checkmate, the queen's going to be one doing the checkmate. All right. The next question we would then ask ourselves is, okay, what square is the checkmate going to be delivered on? So it's pretty obvious that the best square to get a checkmate would be g2. All right, so the only trouble is our bishop's in the way. All right, so we think, okay, so I move the bishop somewhere. So let's try that h1 idea. So then we have to say, okay, what is white's defense? So white's defense is the queen comes across and covers g2. So you then have to say to yourself, okay, can I find a way around that defence? So I know I've got to move the bishop. Where could I move the bishop that's not going to allow the queen f1 defence to save the day? And after a little thought, you see bishop e4, because then when the queen goes to f1, you've got the decoy sacrifice, knight e2, forces the queen away, and we've got the checkmate. Okay, so see how you can use those sort of questions to help you come up with the answer pretty quickly? What do you reckon,
Yes.
Liam? Okay, so you can try that sort of thing in your next puzzle, because often it's a lot easier than just sort of launching into analysis and saying, I go there, he goes there, that doesn't work, I go there, he goes there. Look at the big picture, ask yourself those sort of questions, and hopefully you get the answer fairly quickly. Cool, thanks for your help there, Liam. I'll just mute you now, and we shall move on. If my computer's talking to me, yep. All right, let's have a talk to Oliver. Hello, Oliver. Can you hear me okay?
Hi.
Hi, how are you today?
Good.
Good. You didn't solve the checkmate in 3?
No, I didn't help. I wasn't here for very long. So.
Yeah, you only just got here. Yeah. Anyway, think about using those questions next time. Now, I thought I'd just have a little 5-minute chat before we start our game about general things that perhaps you shouldn't be doing. As chess is a very complicated game, there's so many pieces and so many moves, so we come up with some general rules to help inexperienced players find a good idea. So something like move each piece only once and place it on the best square is what I tell people to do in the opening. Things like that. But I told my Doncaster Gardens primary school class this the other day, and then I watched them play their games, and sure enough, they were breaking all my rules, despite me reinforcing them for the lesson. So, for instance, there was one game where white had a knight on c3, we're only sort of in the opening, and black had a queen on c5. And white played the move knight a4. What do you think about that, Oliver? Is there a problem with that?
Yes.
Why is that a naughty move? Why shouldn't we do a move like that?
Because it's on the edge of the board, and it can't go to very many squares.
But it's threatening the queen. If the queen doesn't move, we can take it and win a queen. That'd be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But is the
so
opponent...
if he moves the queen, the knight
yeah, the knight's in a bad spot.
Technically useless.
Yeah. So this is what I want to talk about is threatening. Quite often I see juniors and they want to threaten something. So like here, white said, what do I do? Oh, I could threaten his queen. If the queen doesn't move, I take the queen, I'm probably going to win. But threats are only good if the other guy can't get out of the threat, or if he maybe has to tie down to defense to defend the thing that's threatened. So in a position like this, the queen would just move somewhere else, and now our knight's sitting on the edge of the board looking all stupid. Now it's attacked itself and it's in a bad spot. So our player has moved a piece twice, so that's breaking a rule, and he's just gone for a one-move threat, hoping the opponent would blunder. So chess should be about outplaying your opponent, not about sort of setting one-move traps and hope he's going to make a boo-boo. I saw another game. I think it went something like e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, d6. And white, who was a young girl, decided this is a good time to attack. So she went knight g5. What do you reckon, Oliver?
Technically a free knight.
It's a free knight. It's a really silly move, and I can think of 3 reasons why it's a silly move. The first obvious reason is it's a free knight. We just take it. So she didn't ask herself. She might have decided she wants to do knight g5, but she's meant to say, what is the opponent going to reply? So she hasn't asked herself that vital question. So that's her first problem. Second problem, she's moved a piece twice. So in this position, instead of moving another piece and having 3 pieces developed, she's moved one that's already on a good spot. I mean, if the other guy, if he put his queen to G5, sure, you can move a piece twice to take the queen. But unless there's a really good reason like that, you shouldn't move it twice. And the third thing is, I think she wanted to attack. She's had a look. She's got this bishop lined up on F7, and she wanted to get an attack going. So would this be a right time to start an attack, Oliver? What do you think?
Probably not.
I would say definitely not. If there's one thing that 99% of juniors do wrong, it's that they attack too early. So I'm trying to tell my class that I want them to focus on building up and getting all their pieces out, making their king safe, connecting their rooks. Then they think about attacking. So many times people just launch an attack and they're not really ready to attack. So that was a pretty naughty move on her part. Another thing I see quite a lot, let's just go here, go here, go here, is taking. So 2 pieces of equal value. So like a bishop is worth 3 points and a knight's worth 3 points. If we can do a swap, should we do it or should we not do it, or does it depend, Oliver?
It probably depends.
What does it depend on? What's the rule we have?
If you're taking it and they can just take it back with either a developing move or a protecting move, then you shouldn't. You shouldn't do it. Probably not take it at all, or take it when it's attacked by something which is lower than.
Yep. Okay, so I watch a lot of little Oliver Cordova's games, and he is very good at taking, but he just, whenever he can, he just does a swap, which is a really bad strategy. So things we need to think about. If say we are well ahead on material, then it's a good thing to swap pieces, even if it's an even trade, because our advantage is going to be bigger. So I think most of you guys have heard that before. When you're ahead on material, swap pieces. When you're down on material, swap pawns. But if we're not ahead on material, as you said, if white was to take the knight, black just recaptures with the queen. So we've given black a free move. And we've also lost our good bishop, by the by. Now, I'll see if I can set up the position again. I'll just move these bits around. So white's gone for a pin, which is a common mistake as well. People don't really understand pins. So it's a good pin. Let's say black didn't have this H-pawn. If black can't break the pin, so the bishop's gone as well. So black can't get rid of this bishop, so now the knight's permanently stuck. It can't move or we'll lose the queen. Or if the queen goes away, we can take and maybe open black's king up or something. So that would be a good pin. But if we're just pinning it and black can put the question to the bishop, would that be a good pin or a bad pin, do you think, Oliver?
Probably a bad pin.
Okay, well, if we have to run away, it's a bad pin. We've just wasted our time. If we have to take, it's a bad pin, as we just saw that black recaptures with a developing move. If we can keep the pin up, maybe bishop there, it's probably a good pin. We have to think about whether black can chase us away or whether that would make his king too airy and be too risky. So don't just rip in for a pin because it looks like good fun. We should only pin if it's a good pin, if he can't break it, or if push comes to shove, if there's some advantage to us to swapping. So, for instance, if we had a knight on d5 and he challenged us, then we'd be able to swap and win a pawn here, something like that. That would be a really good pin. Okay, what else can I say? The other little bit of advice, let's go back to the start, is often I think young players, they're just thinking about that moment and that position, sort of what can they do, what's their opponent threatening, can they take, can they capture. There's another thing you should be thinking about. In general, as the game goes on, Oliver? Any idea what that might be?
No.
Okay, so it's I think you should be thinking about what I call the big picture, sort of planning. So for instance, imagine you're a car. So you're driving along, so you're thinking about the car in front of you. Am I going to turn left in the next road? Watch out, there's a pedestrian. So that's like the immediate tactics. But it would be ridiculous if you were driving along and you didn't know where you were going, wouldn't it? When you're driving, you've got some idea you're going from here to there to visit your auntie in Frankston or something like that. So it's the same in chess. So there's things happening at the moment. He might be threatening something, or you want to move your piece up or castle, make your king safe. But you've also got to be thinking, what's my strategy? What am I doing? Am I trying to build up an attack on the king side? Am I trying to get my rooks in through open files? What's happening? So I don't think many kids think about the big picture as well as the little picture in front of them. So that's just a little bit of general advice before we start today's lesson. All right, thanks, Oliver. I'll move on and give someone else a go. Passendal. Hello, Passendal. How are you?
Good, thanks.
That's good. All right. You understood that general advice I just gave you about common mistakes? Yep. All right. So if you guys can put that in your memory bank about not moving pieces twice and not just taking for the sake of it, things like that, then that'll help you in your game. Now, if you are a really, really good player, you don't need to worry about those general rules. Understanding of chess is so good, you know when the rules don't apply and when you can break the rules, that sort of thing. So today I'm going to show you a very short game from the Australian Open up in Sydney over Christmas between a super grandmaster from China named Nye. His rating is about 2,700. That's a fantastic rating. He must be in the top 50 in the world or something like that, I would think. And he's playing a guy rated 1950. So you'd think a 1950 player is a reasonably strong player. Well, we'll see how he goes against a really top super grandmaster. All right, let's get started. And Passendal, you can help me see if we can understand what's happening. So it goes E4, C6. Do you know what opening this is, Passendal?
The English?
No. It's called the Caro-Kann. Have you heard of that?
No.
All right. Have you heard of the French defence?
Yep.
Okay. Well, I'll just quickly explain the Caro-Kann for those of you who haven't heard of it. So, White's got a foothold in the centre with his pawn on E4. Black decides he wants to get a foothold as well, and he wants to move his D pawn. But if he moves it straight away, when White takes, maybe Black will take back, and his queen will be out too early. It'll be attacked and have to move away. So that would be a boo-boo. So one idea is called the French defence. So Black first plays E6, and then he can put his pawn on D5. So if White takes, Black will take back with his E pawn. He won't have to get the queen out. So that sounds like a good idea. But there is a problem with the French defence. Do you see what the problem might be, Passendal?
I've been seeing the E5 up where the kings are vulnerable.
No, well, White doesn't have to take. I mean, White might decide to push past, for instance. What would be Black's problem then? Think about his pieces.
The white bishop stuck.
Yes, exactly right. How is he going to get this white bishop out? He'd love to get it out here, say, to F5, but this rotten pawn on E6 is going to block him. All right. So someone came along and said, all right, well, if I do D5, my queen gets out. If I do E6, my bishop gets trapped. So I've got a really clever idea. I'm going to play C6, the Caro-Kann defence. So what do you think Black's idea is with the Caro-Kann? Putting the pawn on C6 instead of E6, Passendal.
You can get the white bishop up, and also the black bishop is also free.
Yes, you can get your white bishop out in a minute, hopefully. Put your white bishop out somewhere, and then play E6, and the bishop won't be trapped in. All right, so that's a clever idea. So there's a couple of lines. I know the line I like to do is take. You can push past, or you can move your knight out to c3, something like that. Let's see, the Chinese Grandmaster goes for the push past. All right. So what do you think black should do? What would be black's move here?
Move the bishop out.
So bishop f5?
Yep.
Yep, exactly right. Yep, so that's the best move. So we're going to get our bishop out, then we're going to play e6. It's going to be just like a French defense. We'd probably play pawn to c5, except we've got our bishop outside the pawn chain, and we're going to live happily ever after. All right. So black is now ahead on time. He's got one piece out and we haven't got any. What's white got? Has white got an advantage in any sort?
Maybe space.
Yeah, so white's ahead on space. So he's got this lovely pawn on e5, giving him more space on the king side. Do you think white will end up attacking on the king side, the center, or the queen side?
Center.
The center?
Why do you... the queen side. Because definitely not the queen side. Because they've got the 2 pawns.
So you're saying white's going to attack on the queen side? Was that right, or have I misheard?
I said definitely not the queen side, because
not the queen side. Okay, so how did you work out where white's going to attack?
Since like the 2 main pawns are in the center.
Okay, well the 2 pawns, they're pointing towards the king side, and white has more space on the king side. So if I was looking at this position, I would say in general the white should do an attack on the king side. Black is probably going to play e6, c5, so he'll be doing an attack on the queen side with that c pawn. All right. Now, let's play Guess the Grandmaster Move, because this is a good thing about playing through games of top players. We can try and guess his move, and if he makes a different move, maybe we can try and understand it and learn something. So everyone, here's your first challenge. What move do you reckon white made here? So type in the question box what move you reckon white made. Remember, time, space, material, king, safety. So we either want to move that's going to gain us more space, or gain us time, or help to make our king safe. Waifu's saying he's got background music on his computer. It's not from here, Waifu. Okay, Uday's looking at bishop g5. Oliver's looking at knight f3. Passenger likes knight c3. All right, Passenger, why did you choose knight c3?
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. Sometimes the microphone goes down a little bit. Why did you choose knight c3?
Because knights before bishops.
Yep. And why the queen knight instead of the king knight?
Because you've got less space.
Maybe you want to move your king side pawn like f4 or something first, and then knight behind the pawns. So that would be a reason for doing knight c3. All right. Now no one's got right. Let's have a look what he did. He did h4. Now that looks like a silly move, because I guess it's gaining a bit of space, but it's not controlling the center. It's not developing a piece. It's not going to help our king to be safe. If our king side might have a more airy king. Can you explain it? Why do you think he's gone h4?
Maybe to stop any attack on the king side.
but didn't we say Black's going to attack on the queen's side, and White had the best chances to attack on the king's side? I mean, he's only got one bishop out. It's not as if he's attacking us at the moment. Can anyone help us? If you've got an idea why White played h4, type it in the question box. See if we can understand. Any other thoughts, Passenger, why you would have done it?
Nothing rings a bell yet.
Okay. It looks like it's just a total waste of time. Let me give you a hint. Let's say Black's next move. What do you think Black's next move is going to be?
Maybe e6 to get the other bishop out.
Yeah, so Black's obvious move is pawn to e6. Okay, now what could White do now? White has a sneaky idea. Uday is saying he can't hear me properly. Sorry, Uday. Hopefully it'll come good. Can you hear me okay, Passendal?
You're kind of breaking up.
Okay, all right. Hopefully it'll come good. So we need a good move for White. If Black was to play e6, what could White do? Oliver's going bishop g5, not bishop g5, Oliver. That would be in the category of pointless threat. Yep. Passendal,
maybe f4?
F4. What's your idea there?
To protect the e5 pawn.
Okay. E6 is in fact a big blunder, and if Black were to play that, he's fallen for our trap. Oliver has found it. Well done, Oliver. The move we would play is g4. What are you going to do about g4, Passendal? Where does the bishop go?
I didn't see that.
So the bishop goes to e4. We say go away. If he goes to g6, we say thanks for the bishop. We win a piece for a pawn. Okay, so that's pretty sneaky. So now we understand why he's played h4. He's set a little trap, even though a minute ago I said don't set traps. But he's a grandmaster. He can do whatever he likes. So he set a little trap for Black. You understand that?
Yep.
Yep. All right, cool. So this is why when our opponent makes a move, like h4, which doesn't look like it does anything, we still have to ask ourselves that question, what is he threatening? Because there might be some sneaky trap we haven't seen. All right, let's see what Black does. He goes h6. All right, so he's making a hidey hole for his bishop. What would you like to do next, Passendal?
I think the trap's busted, so just keep developing pieces.
So go back knight c3?
Yeah.
Yep, okay. Looks like a reasonable idea to me. In fact, he does something totally different. He does g4. Okay, so what's the pros and cons of g4?
Trying to get more space on the king side.
Yep, so he's gaining lots of space. What's the disadvantage? Potential disadvantage.
You can't castle because all the pawns are moved up.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to castle king side because he'll be really airy in front of his king. All right, so Black does bishop e4. All right, is that the move we expected, do you think, Passendal? Why is he going to e4 and not really. To 8? I would have thought he'd go to h7. So what's his idea? Why does he want to go to e4?
Because it can't really be attacked there, and it has a good attack on the rook.
So he's going for the one-move attack on the rook, and he's hoping the grandmaster doesn't notice and lose the rook? Or is there some other reason? Ifu's found the right answer. What do you think White will do now? Will he move the rook or do something different?
Probably move the rook.
No, because that would lose time and black's bishop would end up in a really good spot. So white goes pawn to f3. Did you look at that one?
Not really.
All right, well, there's only really two options, move the rook or pawn to f3. So pawn to f3 chases the bishop away from that good square. One of the things you guys have to think about is putting your bits on good squares, and if your opponent's got a good piece, either swap it off or chase it away. So this chases him right away to h7. Okay, so the Grandmaster's got no pieces developed. He's made 6 moves. He hasn't moved a piece yet. It's a very strange game. All right, let's see if we can guess his next move. So white to play. Let's type in the question box, what do you reckon the Grandmaster should do next? Should he move a bishop? Should he move a knight? Should he move another pawn? So Ide is going knight c3. Niam likes bishop d3. Passendal likes knight c3 again. All right. Oliver wants bishop f4. And Shravan wants bishop d3. All right, so we had 3 moves there. Passendal, you like the knight c3 one?
Yep.
Yeah, looks like the obvious move, but not the one the Grandmaster chose. He chose pawn to e6. Whoa, hang on, let's go back. Pawn to e6, what's going on there? That looks really weird. It's not developing a piece, and it's giving up our best pawn. Gosh, all right. So we've found a really strange move, so he must have some idea. So I want you guys to put your thinking caps on. He hasn't done bishop to d3 like we thought, or knight to c3, or bishop f4. He's given up his best pawn. He must have a reason. So have a think about it. Type in the question box, what do you think that reason is? Why has he sacrificed the pawn and his very best pawn on e5 that was really cramping black? What do you think? So what's your original thought, Passendal? What do you think he's done that for?
There's a weakness of f7.
Well, okay, so let's say black takes it. So f7's only protected by the king, but in the previous position it was only protected by the king. So has it made any difference?
Not really.
Not to f7. All right, I might go and ask someone else their thoughts. So thanks for your help, Passendal. Let's try Ide. Ide, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Would you have ever looked at a move like e6?
No.
No, it looks like a pretty daggy move. Any thoughts on why he might have done it?
Well, there's one thing, but it's maybe to open like the diagonal for the king.
Okay. So has white created any weaknesses in the black camp because the pawn's now on e6 and not on...
Double pawns?
Yeah, he's got double pawn, but I mean like it's an extra pawn. If black doesn't like his double pawns, he could just sort of play pawn to e5 and say, take me back again. All right, let's ask everyone. So what are the weaknesses in black's camp? Name me the square or squares because of this e6 pawn takes e6 move. So you have a look at black's position. I think there's probably at least 2 weaknesses. So type in the question box the squares which you reckon might be a little bit weak now. Everyone's thinking hard. Passendal's saying the black bishop is stuck. Maybe. It's going to be a little hard to get the black bishop out. Niam saying that e5 is a weak square. All right. Efu, what do you think? E5, you've gone 3 of them. G6, C5.
H5.
Okay. Why is C5 a weak square? Oh, sorry, that Efu's gone C5. I'm talking to E-Day, aren't I? So what do you think of Efu's claim? So he's saying G6, E5, C5. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree that like maybe if you like get Black's white bishop out of the way,
Yep.
G6 could become a weakness.
Yep. So G6 is weak because the pawn that was protecting it is now gone. So that's obvious. So we'll agree with G6. What about E5?
Well, for E5, I mean,
could white put a piece there or something? Would that be a good outpost, say, for a knight or something like that? Or a bishop?
I think yes.
Yeah, so I think I agree. E5's weak because it can't be attacked by a pawn. Now, what about C5? Is that a weakness?
I don't think C5 is a weakness.
No, I don't think C5 is a weakness either, because Black would just push up his B pawn and say go away. It's not like a hole like E5 is. Okay, so we reckon he's given up his best pawn to create a couple of weaknesses. So he better have a pretty good follow-up or he's just going to be a pawn down. So guys, let's have a go. White's next move, see if we can get the Grandmaster move. What move would you guys do next for white? Think about those two weaknesses we mentioned, G6 and E5. Is there something we can do to potentially build up on those weaknesses? So we're looking for white moves. So Oliver wants to go F4. Uday, what are you thinking? Oliver's also gone H5. Shravan likes Bishop D3.
I think Bishop D3 is good.
Yes, okay. So Oliver said H5. Well, that's controlling G6 a bit, but it's a bit slow. F4, that's controlling E5, but Black's bishop would just then jump in E4, and we've given him a really cool outpost for his bishop. So the best move, so Uday, yes, I agree, Bishop D3. So if that G6 square is weak, we need to get rid of its defender, which is the bishop. All right. Are we threatening anything? Do you think white has a threat now?
He's threatening the defender for
So if it was white's go, what moves would white do here?
He would probably take the bishop.
He would go bishop takes bishop, rook takes bishop, and then look at the weak square.
It's not defended, but there's an extra weakness. If your queen can get there, it'll basically be you winning the rook.
Yes, so you go queen D3, attacking the rook. And even if he goes, let me see, knight F6, then we can jump in there with check. So he can't castle, maybe follow up with G5 or something like that. So that's his idea. So Black says, all right, I'm just going to block pawn to G6 to try and cover his weakness. All right, Uday, what should we do next? Any thoughts?
H5.
Okay, that looks fairly obvious. Now, I don't think he'd take because that would let our rook in. What if he just plays G5? What's our follow-up?
Well, then again, we'll take his...
Take. Yeah, but the difference here is when we go queen D3, he can go rook G7, and he's covered our queen's entry point, hasn't he? So he's a bit cramped, but I'm not sure we can follow it up. All right, so we need a plan B. Think about keeping black's pieces locked in and keeping him cramped. If anyone's got a good idea, type in the question box. We'll see if we can get white's next move. We've only got one piece developed, but we've got a nice lead in space on the king side, and black's got a few weaknesses. Passendal's found the right move. Ifu's planned the right move. Niam, Uday, what about you? Have you found the right move? What are you going to do now?
Maybe F4?
F4. I think he'd probably play knight F6 and maybe jump in on E4 and block us. No, the move the guys have all found, and Shravan, well done. Pawn to G5. Okay, so that's pretty cool, because you look at black's knight. Where can he go? He's got what I would call a dead Ned. He's not going anywhere. So even though the Grandmaster's only got one of his pieces developed, he's sort of got all black's pieces in a permanent cramp on the king side, particularly the knight, and the rook's going to struggle to get out, and the bishop's locked in. All right. Now, if we were black, white just played pawn to G5, what should we say to ourselves? White's just gone pawn to G5 Uday. So what should we immediately say? Or ask ourselves?
Take the pawn.
No. What? Your opponent makes a move. What do you say to yourself?
What's he threatening?
What's he threatening? All right. So you tell me, does white have a threat? If you guys can see... Yep.
He's threatening the H-pawn.
But that's just a trade, isn't it? That's not a threat. Because we're attacking it twice and it's covered twice. All right. Anyone see a threat? Type in the question box what white's threat was. If it was white's move now, he has a sneaky move that is a threat that we need to notice. Ifu's found it. Oliver's found it. Come on, Uday, I'll give you a second chance. Think about that G6 square.
Bishop takes G6.
Loses the bishop. I just take you back, don't I? All right, I'll show you. White's threat. If it's white's... Yep. Yes, Uday? Did you look at H5?
But I was going to say, when you take back, move to H5, and if you take your pawn, you take with the rook, and if he moved...
but he wouldn't take the pawn. He'd move the bishop and he'd say, ha ha, my bishop up. Yeah, so the threat we've got is pawn to H5, and if he takes, we go pawn to G6, and we've won his bishop. All right, very good. So black says, all right, I've seen the threat. So he just goes chop on G5, and white takes back with the pawn. Why would he choose the pawn and not the bishop? What do you think? Should he have taken with the bishop or the pawn, Uday?
Pawn.
Yeah, the bishop develops a piece, but that would let the knight to get out, I think. So let's take with a pawn. So that keeps his knight trapped, and also our rook is now in the game on the open file without us having to do anything. Okay, so...
His bishop is pinned as well.
Yeah, his bishop's pinned as well. All right, so it's black's move. Black plays bishop G7. So I want all of you guys to have a look at the position and write in what move you would play for white. White to play, what should you do? So black's got his bishop developed now. He's threatening our D pawn. What do you reckon we should do? Ifu's found a good move. Well done, Ifu. Passendal's found a bad move. Oliver's found the bad move. What do you reckon we should do? Ifu's found a good move. Well done, Ifu. Passendal's found a bad move. Well done, Ifu. Passendal's found a bad move. Oliver's found a bad move. Passendal's found a bad move. Oliver's found a bad move. Any thoughts, Uday? Have you found any good moves?
Not really, but I'm kind of analyzing bishop takes g6.
Okay, so what would he reply? He'd take you back, wouldn't he?
Yep, but then the only problem is that the pin wouldn't work because he'd just take you back with his bishop.
Yeah, and then you haven't got a good follow-up, so you've just lost a bishop for a pawn. Niam's gone queen e2. Nope, not queen e2. All right, I'll move on and give Ifu a go. So thanks for your help, Uday. Let's try Ifu. Ifu, you've found the good move for white?
Yep.
All right, tell us all what it is.
Rook takes h7.
Very good. We win a pre-piece. Because last move, black forgot to say what is white threatening. He thought it was just a standard recapture. He didn't ask himself the question. So now he's blundered a piece. So all of you guys who saw it, which is basically Ifu, Shravan, well done. Passendal and Oliver preferred to play bishop takes g6 and lose their own bishop, which wasn't the best. So one of the things I often say to you guys is if you think there's tactics on, look at all checks and captures. So even if they originally look silly, so you wouldn't want to give up your rook for a bishop, so you mightn't look at that. But if you look a little bit deeper, clearly we're ending up winning a piece. So black takes back, we chop, king runs away to d7, and we say thank you very much for the rook. So how's the Grandmaster going, Ifu?
Which Grandmaster?
White.
Oh.
Our 2700 Chinese Grandmaster playing white. He's only got one piece developed, but he's managed to win a piece. He's a piece up. All right, let's see what happens next. Black goes queen c7. That looks like a funny move. What do you think his idea might be?
To play c5?
Maybe. Any other idea he might have?
Queen g3.
He might want to check us on g3. Is there a problem with the queen moving away from d8? Has he perhaps forgotten something?
Yeah, he forgotten d8 knight.
He's forgotten the knight's undefended now. All right, so one final test for you guys. I told you this was a short game. It lasts one more move, and then black resigns. So type in for me what move you reckon white played here to finish the game and convince black that he should resign. So you're a 2700 Chinese Grandmaster. All you got to do is find one more move. You win the game. Type in the question box what that move is. Could be pretty obvious, or maybe it's not obvious. I'm not telling. All right, so Uday wants to go bishop takes knight. Ifu wants to go bishop takes knight. So you'll be two pieces up. Looks pretty good. Shravan wants to go bishop takes knight. Passendal wants to go bishop takes knight. What about Oliver? Come on, Oliver, what are you going to do? You going to agree with everyone? You want a free knight? Or do you want to do something different? All right, Ifu, why did you choose bishop takes knight?
Because it's a free knight, and queen c7 check won't get the knight back.
So bishop takes knight. Let's have a look. So if he goes queen g3 check, does that worry you or not?
No.
You just go king f1 and everything's safe, isn't it?
Yes.
Yep, all right. Oliver says he's still thinking. Niam's gone bishop takes knight. All right, bishop takes knight, obvious move, two pieces up. Maybe your opponent resigns. But believe it or not, the Grandmaster did a different move. And the move he did is pawn to f4. Golly gosh. So, Ifu, the Grandmaster just played a move we'd never looked at. Why did he do that? What's his idea? What's he thinking about that we're not thinking about?
He's probably thinking about playing f5 and exploit the weakness on the...
No, I mean the bishop can take the knight. You'd rather take the knight than just attack with one little pawn, wouldn't you? What does pawn to f4? What does pawn to f4 do?
It threatens knight f3 and then knight e5.
Right. Is that a killer threat? Because the bishop can just take the knight then, can't it?
Yeah, but then the black's pawns will be blocked and we're still winning the knight. Oh, we're not winning the knight.
Okay. All right. Well, let's just go back. So, just about everyone on the planet would probably go bishop takes knight, and black may well resign because we're 2 pieces up. But he still has a little bit of play. His queen can check. He can move his knight out and attack our bishop and get his rook into the game. I mean, he could play on for a couple of moves if he really wanted to. But it's important that as chess players, we don't just play the obvious move. If we see a good move, we should have a quick look around in case there's a better move. So the Grandmaster does f4. Now, he's not threatening f5. That's not his idea. His idea is to demonstrate to black that black has no play at all. He's just a piece down. So have a look at it. This knight on g8, it can't go anywhere without being taken. The bishop is totally blocked in, can't go anywhere. I mean, he can play knight to a6 if he wants, but it's not going anywhere. And white's going to follow up with knight f3. So white's just totally sitting on the position, his piece up, his opponent has no play. What do you think, Ifu? Does that sound like a reasonable explanation of why the Grandmaster didn't take the knight?
Yep.
Yep. So, for your guys' point of view, as I say, when you see a good move, have a look for a better one. And if you're winning, don't necessarily think about just taking more pieces or checking or doing stuff. Think about how you can sort of kill any possibility of your opponent making a comeback. If you can make his pieces bad and give him no play at all, that's the safest way to ensure you're going to end up winning the game. All right, so that was an interesting, albeit very short little game. So thank you all for your help with that game today. But it shows how a really strong player can win in 14 moves with only moving 2 pieces. Pretty remarkable, all those pawn moves, but it certainly worked out on the day because black made a couple of tactical boo-boos and didn't ask himself what's the opponent threatening and what's the opponent going to reply. Okay, so that's the end of today's lesson. I may see some of you at the RJ Shield on Sunday, hopefully. If not, I'll look forward to catching you all next Thursday for our next lesson.